Welcome again to another Growthpoint organization presentation. We have been trained by our schooling system and societal norms to give away our very real power of conscious manifestation to authority figures. We have been conditioned to believe that the responsibilities that come with those powers are just too great for us to handle, and that it is probably better for somebody else to shoulder them. However, we are then left wondering why we are so helpless and powerless, and especially in times as uncertain and chaotic as we find ourselves in at the moment. In this conversation with David Wyllie, we discuss our innate God-given power of conscious manifestation and how we can change our reality and our life circumstances no matter what the times present us. Welcome, David.
Thank you.
It seems we are making a habit of this, are we?
I hope so.
Absolutely. So let's quickly get into conscious manifestation. I mean, this month is month 5 of an insane worldwide COVID lockdown. It's absolutely incredible, isn't it?
It is. And the tragedy of it is that whatever we've been thinking and the emotions we've been feeling and the way we've been trained to act over this period of time has become part of our creative being. We now don't know that we've developed a series of habits because it only takes between 21 and 30 days to develop habits. So all our behavior, our emotional behavior, our thought behavior, as well as our physical behavior, has just become part of our subconscious makeup now. And all the indoctrination, the fear, all the propaganda that's gone around this crazy time that we've been in. And not only this crazy time, this process has been carrying on for basically for thousands of years. It's just sort of all come to a head suddenly.
Absolutely.
All of this is changing our possibilities.
Absolutely. I mean, this is, I mean, the fear, the uncertainty, all of this. I mean, we've developed. I mean, what's shocking is we've developed such habits during this time that are completely out of our norm, right?
Yeah. And I believe it's a very deliberate control mechanism where we've been set up for the authority figures to reinforce control. Okay, remember that every one of us is is a creator by default. We do not have a choice. Okay, whatever our consciousness, and our consciousness is not just what we're thinking about, it's the emotions that go with it, it's our actions, it's every part of us. All that consciousness is manufacturing who we are, and then who we are is magnetizing circumstances into our lives that matches, that consciousness matches who we are.
And it's, I mean, what have, so obviously with all this fear and all this, this is month 5 now. I mean, how long does it take to manifest a habit? It's about 30 days, isn't it?
But the experts have been saying for years between 21 and 30 days. Some people are saying it takes 60 days. Well, from all the work that I've been doing over the last nearly 50 years, I'll stick with teaching people to do it over a 30-day period. 31 days actually, because if you wanted to consciously develop a habit, better overdo it by a day than underdo it by a day.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, our habits obviously create our reality. What we think and, I mean, what we think, what we say, what we feel, our emotions drive a habit. The habit becomes us, effectively. I mean, that's who we become. And I mean, this being month 5, I mean, last month created this month's reality, effectively. I mean, I have become a new person because of what I thought of last month. the previous month to that created the previous month, and last year created who I am today. You know, and the year before that created 2018, created 2019, and which then built on to become 2020. You're moving away a little bit from the COVID aspect of this necessarily. This is effectively a parable that is becoming a principle in life generally, right? The fear of COVID is creating fearful human beings. I mean, is there a principle back of this?
All right. Well, the principle back of it has always been that there's been political interest groups that have wanted to control humanity for whatever reason, and I don't want to go into that process now. But we have a simple choice. Conformity allows the world to define us. So, and we are trained from the time we are tiny. If you just think about it logically, you get trained to conform into your family. Then you get trained to conform into being a certain kind of school child in a certain kind of school. Women are being trained to conform to being what women are supposed to be. And all of us are being trained to be put into some box or another, whether it's a religious box or a political box or a tribal box. It's totally academic. But we are being trained to be put into boxes. We think we need to belong. And the tragedy of that is that belonging and fitting into the box is a direct violation of our DNA. We are unique. And we are giving away our uniqueness because we've been trained to give away our uniqueness. And one of the things I'm devoting my life to, well, I've been devoted my life to over the last 50 years, is training people to take back their uniqueness.
Sure. Yeah, because we constantly are conforming, and that box of conformity is also creating our consciousness. We're basically manifesting consciousness by focusing on that box, by being inside that box of somebody else's value system.
That's right. And remember, one of the things that is feared most by people in the world is anybody that doesn't conform to their value system. You find that people are missionaries everywhere. They only want to be with people who are like them. They feel uncomfortable when they're with people who are not like them. Almost every war that's ever been fought in the world has been a values war, where some power is trying to get some other power to conform to a set of values that they think are right. And in the real picture of the world, there is no right and wrong. There is no good and bad. There are only values. You know, as you can probably remember me challenging you many years ago, are you a terrorist or are you a freedom fighter? Simply depends on how you're looking at your space in the world and from what place of indoctrination you are happy to accept whatever it is that you're manifesting. Whether I'm saying it right, I think you're getting the picture though.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. The crazy thing is we are literally we can't not manifest. We are as I said to you, we manifest by default. One of the things that I think we have on this planet to learn is conscious manifestation. Now, conscious manifestation requires that we have an awareness of who we are and the incredible toolbox that is built into our DNA and our genetic structure and everything. And then we have absolute clarity of vision for our own lives.
Why? Why the clarity?
Well, if we don't have clarity of vision, then we're allowing anything in the propaganda system to tell us what we should be visualizing, to tell us how we think our life should be turning out. Our school teachers, our moms and dads, if you just take most children growing up, they don't, or very seldom do they ever go and study the things at university that really excite them and give them passion. They get told that being an accountant is a good way to earn a living, or being a lawyer is a good way to earn a living, or becoming a medical doctor, or whatever. And you have all this family and peer group pressure dictating to us what we should or shouldn't be doing, and how we should be thinking. And that's all the conformity where we're letting the world dictate to us who we should be. And yet, every one of us was issued with absolutely unique DNA, because we have an absolutely unique job to do. Okay, my personal belief structure is we made a contract with planet Earth, with the universe, to come to planet Earth to do something in the evolution of the universe that no one else is capable of doing other than us.
And yet we are constantly being put into boxes to conform to somebody else's value system, and taking away the uniqueness of our DNA, and therefore obviously not fulfilling my purpose with planet Earth, with the universe.
And hence that empty feeling. I meet people every day who have made millions, who are highly respected in their professions and everything. And when I really get down to talking to them, they say, Dave, I've got this hollow feeling inside me. Like I know something's missing. And the something that's missing is actually incredibly simple. We are not fulfilling the reason why we came here. And we've got to get out of the box of conformity to find that reason. There's no right, or in my understanding of the universe, there's no right or there's no wrong, there's no good or no bad. There only is, and the learning that comes from whatever is. So even in these crazy times, and all the crazy times, people who lived through world wars, and
those were also crazy times.
Those were crazy times, just as crazy as this time, except this is a different world war. It's a psychological war. It's not a physical war. But there's the vast majority of people have got locked into the fear of.
Sure.
I just walk, and I notice when I get out of my motor car and I don't put a mask on, and I'm walking towards the shop. Yes, I've got my mask because I know I can't get into the shop if I'm not wearing my mask. So I will put it on. But I watch the fear on people's faces when they see me walking without a mask. Now, if for one moment they believed the mask protected them, their mask protected them, they wouldn't care whether I had one or not.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely,
they are scared of my not conforming. You see people sitting in their motor cars with their window shut, with their air conditioning on, and they're wearing a mask.
Yeah. They're because that clarity of thought and that awareness on their own clarity of thought. People just aren't aware. If my masks, protect me, then why should I be afraid of whether somebody else does or not? And they're also far away.
Yeah.
But
okay, but now come back to the mask as a principle. Almost all of us are wearing masks all the time. The expression on our face, where we know we should be smiling and we should be happy and we should be pretending that we care about the person we're looking at, all that they're all masks. We're playing games.
100%.
And we, generally speaking, are playing the game of conformity instead of playing the game of our incredible uniqueness. Right? And what I've devoted my life to is teaching people how to create their world as opposed to living in somebody else's world.
Yeah, because obviously, so part of the masks and part of the medical science behind the masks or what have you is that I protect you by wearing my mask, and you protect me by wearing your mask. And effectively, and yes, the medical science aside and all of that, what does that actually say to us about our about what we think? And this is again going back to we're being placed in molds. Is that I'm giving you my responsibility for protecting. You have the responsibility to protect me, and I have the responsibility to protect you, but I have no responsibility to myself.
Yeah,
right?
and that's crazy. And we've been taught to give away responsibility. We've been taught since we were babies that we were too young and too stupid to be responsible. So we must do what our parents tell us, then do what Miss Smith in grade 1 tells us to do. Then as we start to grow up, to do what our priest tells us to do, what our politician tells us to do what the laws of the land tell us to do. And I do understand that you've got to have some kind of a structure in order for society to function.
Sure.
But the most important part of the structure is if everyone is giving away their uniqueness, then all we've got is conformity. And I'll never forget one of my students many years ago, a very knowledgeable medical doctor, said an amazing thing on a training program where he said, when all people think the same, no one is thinking at all. And the tragedy of what's going on around us is almost everyone in the world has given up thinking. We're allowing politics and lousy science and all kinds of other things to dictate what we are allowed to think.
Absolutely. And then we wonder why we are so powerless and helpless, when in fact if we only had the will to think for ourselves, we'd be able to flourish, and we'd actually take our power back.
Yeah, and it's actually not difficult to take your power back. You just take it a little bit every day. If you remember that one of the things that we worked on years ago with you was every day just be 1% better than you were the day before.
Absolutely.
Now, if we become 1% more assertive every day, if we just actually think about what we want out of our life and work out what makes us feel happy, what makes us feel fulfilled, what makes us get this hollow feeling inside ourselves, and apply our consciousness with our clarity of thinking and become aware of those emotions. Before we know what's happened, we're starting to take back all our own power.
Absolutely.
And society will be as strong as its individual people. Society is not strong because it has a whole bunch of sheep that are not thinking.
Absolutely. And if we were only so one of the things that obviously the culture or the constant consciousness that is around us at the moment is obviously one of fear, is one of death. It's a pretty fearful. The dominant emotion out there is fear. Some of it is anger, anger at government, anger at government's inaction, anger at government's actions, or the wrong actions based on different people's value systems. But what if we had to actually change those value systems, or change the direction that we send our emotions? Instead of being fearful and angry, we should be hopeful and encouraged, or hopeful and inspired by the opportunities that come around with whatever circumstances in our is in our current time, is in front of us. The circumstances in front of us should surely change our values to create that direction.
And we need to get back to establishing our values from our own feeling base, as opposed to inheriting values from the society around us. But coming back to fear for a moment, just imagine for a moment what would happen to the economy of the world if you took fear out of the human equation.
Sure.
There would be no armed responses anymore. We wouldn't need them. There would be no wars anymore. Big chunk of the medical profession would go out of business because people wouldn't be afraid that they might get flu in winter, so they wouldn't need a flu shot. We can go on forever.
Absolutely.
Thinking about fear of my old age, fear of not being able to provide for my future. And we want insurance to provide. We're always looking for someone else to be the guru to bail us out.
And on the flip side is, so fear of old age, or fear of ill health, or what have you. What about changing that into the inspiration of wow, I can't wait to grow old. It's inspiring to grow old.
Yeah.
What about the wisdom that I'll gain when I grow old, or when I come out of this on the other end, and so on.
Remember when you were working with me as a young guy, training children?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, and we used to send them away. We gave them 15 minutes to come back as 60 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
Almost without exception, they'd come back bent over with a walking stick, talking like this because they were old and fossilized, and they were actually planning a future that looked exactly like their role play.
Mm.
Well, I'm almost 75, right? And I am so grateful that I'm 75. Yes, sometimes I wish I had the body that I had when I was 30.
Mm. Sure.
But the wisdom and the compassion for life and all my enthusiasm for living and everything is far greater now than it ever was, even just 5 years ago. You know, there's so much to look forward to when we give up on the fear and start to embrace all the possibilities of assuming who we are as our real being, as opposed to conforming to who society thinks we should become.
Sure. So, bringing this back to how can we become, how can we gain that clarity of thought? How can we become? How do we manifest more consciously? Because that's really, if anyone wants to take their life into a different direction, all we need to really do is to change our minds. And to manifest something else. So how do we do this? What's the process to doing this?
All right, one tiny baby step at a time. If you've spent your whole life being led in one direction, to suddenly have a mammoth change in your consciousness is a reasonably difficult thing to do. It's much like wanting to walk to Cape Town and hoping you can do it in one step. It's not likely to take place.
Sure.
All right. But if we just do it a little bit at a time, just start to learn about the incredible toolbox that we were born with, and then start to implement one of those tools at a time. And the first tool is choice. Okay. I'm choosing to think. I'm choosing to act. I'm choosing the emotions that I have. What is the feeling that's happening inside of me because of the choices that I've made? Is this feeling gratifying me, or is this feeling leaving a hollow feeling inside me? And if I will use the way I feel as a barometer of, for me, what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad, bearing in mind that the universe doesn't understand right and wrong and good or bad. It's a human value base. In every different culture, at different times in our lives, we all have a different idea of what we should or shouldn't be doing. Okay, but in principle, there's something that delights us, turns us on, makes us want to get up in the morning, we can't wait to get out there and change the world, or whatever it is that we were going to do. What is that thing that lights a fire in us? We need to start moving towards that more and more, just with tiny steps every day. Becoming aware of everything that lights that fire of passion and everything that extinguishes that fire of passion. Then we know what to let go of and we know what to embrace. And in that process, we have to be letting go of conformity, because the tragedy of conformity is it leads us to mediocrity. Okay, you can't be average fitting into society and be exceptional at the same time. They're just two different polarities. Right? And if we want to be our exceptional sovereign being, then we have to start to embrace everything that's going to make that possible. And the really incredible thing is that thing that fulfills us, that creates our passion, is the thing that is going to be the most valuable thing we can trade with society. That will be the key to our happiness, the key to our wealth, the key to everything that we understand as success as human beings.
Absolutely. So, Dave, I understand that you are. There's lots more to talk about. Obviously, there's a question of the infinite universe, infinite possibilities and potential, I suppose, and that's the only thing that really limits us is our limited imagination that can work with all those brilliant, wonderful toolboxes or those tools that we've got that are really infinite. So there's obviously much more to talk about, and I understand that you're going to be holding a workshop, not in the not too distant future. Care to tell us about that?
All right. The next one we're doing, conscious manifestation, we're doing on the 22nd of August.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to become something that's a standard thing that we will be doing on other occasions as well, because as I've evolved, I think it's very important that people understand how easy it is to switch from being a unconscious manifester of their reality to a conscious manifester of reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's really very simple. We need to understand that we live in an infinite universe. We need to understand that we are a toolbox of infinite possibilities with infinite potential. And the only thing that's limiting us is our imagination, which has been stifled by what we call education and conformity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we let go of those things that are stifling us and start to get back to the things we were talking about earlier, the feelings that light us up and make us feel powerful, slowly we develop all the tools that we need, because the tools are already inside us. Everything we need is inside us. We actually only need to be really aware of what we're thinking and how that thinking is making us feel. Develop a sincere clarity of vision of where we would like our world to go to. If the question I often ask people is, if I was God and I could grant you any life that you could ask for,
Mm-hmm.
and you had to accept no responsibility, what life would you ask for? Would you ask for the life you've currently got, or would you like a variation on it? Well, almost without exception, people have got a huge variation on it. Often it's 180-degree difference.
Yeah.
All right. The point is that you can have it.
Sure.
Because you were designed to have it.
Mm-hmm.
But without clarity of vision, so you need to know exactly what that vision is, bearing in mind that that clarity of vision is like walking to the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
When you get there, you find there's always another valley on the other side of the hill that you thought was the end of the world.
But you also knew that was where. But you also had a purpose, and you knew where you were going, despite not seeing.
You have to walk to the horizon to find the next valley, the next world, and we've got to keep doing that, and we will never get to the other end. We can't live in a world of infinite possibilities and get to the place where we arrived.
Absolutely.
And the other important thing is we are so busy attempting to be perfectionist, and I can't do anything until I'm qualified. Well, the bottom line is you can't be qualified to live until you die. All right. So what you've got to do is you've got to get on with risking and failing and keeping updating your vision until you die, because that is what life is all about. And you will manifest everything that you've got the courage to accept the responsibility of creating. We have all the tools. There's not a human being anywhere on the planet that doesn't have all the tools. All we've got to do is change our mind, give up conformity, and we're on the way.
Great. Well, Dave, thank you so much for a great chat and a great presentation on the on conscious manifestation, and obviously in these trying and stressful times. Hopefully, our viewers will have some sort of will walk away inspired to obviously change the way that they are approaching the world, and obviously change their reality, because our reality is really what we think of that reality and what the emotion that we put into that reality. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us in this discussion. If you found this content helpful and would like a more comprehensive experience, join David for the full-day Conscious Manifestation workshop on Saturday the 22nd of August. Details down below or on the website. If you're unable to make this one, visit the website and have a look at some of the other exciting upcoming workshops and seminars. Don't worry, I won't ask you to consider liking and sharing this video, or even subscribing to the channel and maybe pressing that bell icon so that you can get further notifications whenever we upload a video. I won't do that. At least not on this video. See you in the next one.